guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about your assessments that we will be sharing at conferences on Wednesday and Thursday. And I want to remind you that the class who has the most kids who bring their parents to conferences, it doesn't count if it's just your parents, it only counts if it's you and your parents. I want to remind you that the class that has the highest percentage of people who come with their parents will get a big prize. A prize so big, I feel kind of stupid for even offering it.
Donuts.
So I will tell you what it is, if and when they win. So, let me talk to you about your assessments. And I want to get you ready to kind of share them with your folks. And then I want to talk to you about the power of reading and why we're going to start doing so much reading in the future. All right, first, the assessments. If you look at this chart up here, you will see that when you're acquiring a language, first you learn how to listen. So we assessed your listening. And I would say that when we did that listening assessment with Profe, right, she retold the story of the Dedo del Pie Peludo, I would say that most of us were coming in to listening at sort of an advanced low to an intermediate high level. So our listening was about right here. I want you to know that Portland Public Schools expects that by the end of the first year, which for you guys is not even this year, it's next year. Because you know you're getting high school credit for this class, but you're only getting half a credit this year, right?
Only half.
So you're getting half a credit this year. It's not very
Pequeñito credito.
Oh.
You're getting half a credit this year, half a credit in 8th grade, so by the end of that, you'll have a whole credit for the whole entire first year. And PBS says that by the end of that first year, when you've got both of those credits, you should be at novice high or intermediate low, okay? In every one of these levels, they have low. I'm not even going to go any lower than that because we're not even at that point. They have low, mid, not intermediate, but mid, and high, right? So every level has low, mid, and high, low, mid, and high advanced. So PPS expects that by the end of these two credits, you should be at intermediate or novice high or intermediate low. However, none of you, even though we've only had one quarter, and there's 8 quarters total, so we're 1/8 of the way through. We have 7 more quarters to go this year and next year. Even though we've only gone 1 quarter, you guys are already way ahead of what they expect at the end of next year. So let's all give each other a big high five, and then we'll celebrate and move on. Yay! Nice job.
That means 5.
Moving on in 7, 6, 5, 4,
Wait, no, 7.
3, 2,
No.
1, 0. Okay, so let's talk about so your listening, I would say, is at probably an advanced low to intermediate high level already, because you're able to listen to a whole story and pick out not just the main ideas, but some of the details as well. You don't have to pick out every detail, of course. I mean, you're not distinguished yet or superior, so it's just obviously, main idea, supporting details, and you're doing really well. Okay, so you're writing. No, wait, let's talk about the other things first. So it says first listening, then reading, okay? So we did reading, and usually listening and reading, they are the first things, right? So usually kids are higher in those and lower in writing and speaking. It makes sense. It's easier to listen and understand and read and understand before you have to talk or write yourself, right? So, in your listening, I noticed you were intermediate high, advanced low, you were doing really well. In your reading, you read that whole story about the pig, right? And
Bacon.
yeah, Bacon El Cerdo.
So
in the story of Bacon El Cerdo, that was a pretty advanced text, right? It was long, it had a lot of paragraphs, it was things you'd never read before. But even in a long whole page of small font that you've never read before, most of you guys were able to pick out almost every single one of the main ideas and a lot of the details. So also putting your reading up here at this advanced high, or intermediate high, advanced low level. So listening's about right here, reading's about right here. And then I looked at your writing. Okay? Now, like I said, writing is usually a little slower, right? Because you're having to produce the language. You're not just listening or reading, taking it in. You're producing it. So in that, I would expect that you're a little lower, and that's about what we came out. I would say our class as a whole, on average, I would say our class for writing was about right here. So maybe intermediate level, okay? But if you think about it, this is where they want you to be at the end of next year. So we're well on the way. And the good news is with speaking, it's the last thing to come online, so we won't be assessing you on your speaking until probably sometime next year.
No.
Okay? So, let's talk about writing. Why is it that our writing is so low? I want to tell you that there's only a couple things that are holding us back. It's not the amount or the volume that you're able to write. It's not the quickness or the fluency with which you're writing. So it's not your volume, and it's not your fluency. Because, okay, let's just do a little experiment. They say with novice, even novice high, most of what a student will do is make lists or write phrases. So raise your hand if you feel like you pretty confidently could say that you could write a list or write some phrases in Spanish.
Yes.
Okay, keep
Hola.
your hand up. Like if they said who's in your family, you said mi papá, mi madre, mi hermana, mi perro. Right?
Mi
You're
gato.
listing everything in your house.
Mi guinea pigo.
So raise your hand if you feel like you could write a list or some phrases, like se llamaba blah 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 or whatever. Please keep your hand up. Hey, nobody ever said Spanish would be easy. By the way, I'm noticing that for you right now, your focus is incredibly easy. So it will be very sad if we all have to go on a seating chart that Argonin makes and not a seating chart that you're making right now, because you were talking. So we will come and all this. Okay? That made us have to do it. So please, help each other. Be So please raise your hand if you think you could do a list. Keep your hand up if you think you could write a phrase in Spanish, like half a sentence.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's novice high. So keep your hand up if you feel like you could start to write sentences in Spanish. Okay? Nice. Good. Keep your hand up if you feel like you could write like a paragraph in Spanish. Keep your hand up if you feel like you could write a whole like page in Spanish, like multiple paragraphs. Keep your hand up if you think that your whole page would be almost perfect Spanish, that would be like everything was, okay. So that's what we broke down on. So we're able to write a ton, because you've listened a ton and you've read a ton. You've read when I write in front of you. However, what we're breaking down, and why we can't get to here yet, is because at this level, you're almost advanced, right? They expect that you're able to write more correctly. So like with correct spelling and like your sentences go together more correctly. It's not perfect, but it has to be kind of more correct than not. So I thought to myself, okay, it's about time for us to start doing some things to make our writing get more correct. So then I thought to myself, okay, what can I do? Can I take their papers home and circle all their mistakes and bring them back and they can see where their mistakes are? Raise your hand if you've ever had a teacher who's done that before.
Miss Melanie.
It's kind of sad that to say, but they're kind of wasting their time. So I don't want to waste my time. They have found, through researching kids and teachers, that teachers feel like it's a really like important thing to do. They feel like I'm going to take these papers home. I'm going to take these papers home. I'm going to correct everything that they did wrong. I'm going to give it back. They're going to see where their mistakes are, and then they're going to be stronger writers. A lot of you raised your hands, but that's what teachers do. I think it makes teachers feel good, like they're doing their job. However, it's sad. The teachers are kind of wasting their time. It makes them feel good, like they're doing a lot of work and everything, but they've done research on writing, and they found out that actually, like doing that, it doesn't do very much for the kid. It does a lot for the teacher. It makes their whole weekend be spent like grading papers. But it doesn't really make for a stronger writer. It's a lot of work for the teacher. It's kind of sad for the kid because they get their paper back and there's all these like mistakes and they're like, oh, I'm dumb, right? I can't write. And it's kind of a waste of time for everybody because it doesn't really work. Like research has shown it doesn't really work. So here's the good news. What does work is not a waste of your time. It's not a lot of work for your teacher. It's actually pleasant, enjoyable, it teaches you stuff, and amuses you. It's reading. Reading in English or Spanish or any language is the only way for you to become a stronger writer. And lucky for us, it's not a lot of work. It's kind of fun. So, in order for us to be getting up to those higher levels of writing, we gotta start doing some reading. So turn and tell your partner, the good news is Harganen doesn't have to go home on the weekends and grade a whole stack of papers, and you don't have to look at a whole bunch of mistakes. All you have to do is read some books that you like. Tell them now.
You don't waste your time. Sophia, get your head out. I can see her body.